How you doing, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Beyond Impact. My name is Colin Egglesfield, and today I have something very exciting for you because who here ever gets stage fright? No one, right? You guys never get nervous when you have to give a presentation at work or if you have to get up on stage. Has anyone ever done a play when you were in third grade and felt like you wanted to vomit as soon as you got out there because everyone was looking at you and you had this sudden panic attack and awareness that everyone was looking at you and it felt like everyone was just having their laser judgment eyes on you? No one, right? Including me. I've never had that. Only in opposite world. No, just this is the thing. I was the kind of person who hated getting up in front of the class to give an answer to a question. And you may ask, well, Colin, you're an actor. You've been on stages. You've been in over 50 movies and television shows. And here's the thing. You can overcome your fear of being on the stage and performing and interacting and connecting with people. And this is the number one thing that I think keeps people from truly elevating in life and being able to create and have the life that they want. Because life is all about relationships. Life is all about connecting authentically with people. Whether you are a professional performer or if you are in sales or if you want to take any leadership position, I think we all have recognized in certain positions or certain areas of our life where we wish we were more confident. So how do you get confidence in front of audiences? How do you feel more comfortable in front of just walking into a room? A lot of people have social anxiety. I have social anxiety. The thing is, what I discovered when I first jumped into my acting class at 24 years old was this glimmer of hope that I didn't have to stay stuck in this feeling like I was this nervous wreck every time I had to get up in front of people to open my mouth to say something. And today's guest is someone who is a master of performance, a master of being in front of audiences. This guy has been in front of thousands and if not millions of people. He is a performer like no other. He is incredibly entertaining, incredibly charming. And today we're going to be talking about what it takes to perform at that high level, how to be your best in front of audiences, how to connect with people authentically. And what's really cool about my guest today is that he is someone who is going to blow your mind. This guy knows exactly what you're thinking because that's what he does for a living. His name is Chris Cox, and he's the only mind reader in history to have starred on Broadway, London's West End, and the Sydney Opera House, performing in front of over 1 million people worldwide. He's an award-winning star of Chris Cox's Mind-Boggling Magic and Killer Magic on the BBC. He has blown minds on America's Got Talent. Yes, he has blown Simon Cowell's mind and has shared the stage with One Direction, Hugh Jackman, and the world's biggest illusionists. The Guardian calls him one of the most exciting entertainers in Britain, and Time Out says he does tricks that would make Jesus proud. That's pretty profound. He has written and performed 5 critically acclaimed Edinburgh Fringe Festival shows, 4 solo UK tours, 2 extended sellout runs of the New Zealand International Comedy Festival. He's won 2 Edinburgh Fringe Awards, a Best Comedy Show Award, and over 30 5-star reviews. He is a member of the Inner Magic Circle with Gold Star, an accolade only 300 magicians have worldwide. He's funny, he's brilliant, and impossible not to be amazed by, but don't let me sway your opinion. Let me bring him to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome the mind-bogglingly magical, I can't talk, Mr. Chris Cox.
Hello. I'm good. I'm already in your mind. And also, that was incredible hearing all that stuff about me. I sort of feel like I should go. I'm also modest and lower your expectations.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I can tell. Well, I hope you're not modest on the show today because I really want to hear from you. And I know my audience wants to hear some of your insight, magic tips and tricks on what has enabled you to be in front of millions of people and to be able to just entertain and captivate so many people so quickly. I've watched some of your stuff on YouTube and
finally I found my viewer. I wondered who the viewer was.
There you go. That was me.
That was me. View. I know it finally.
Yeah, and I saw you on America's Got Talent, and if you could just tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the world of performance and being as successful as you are.
Of course. Well, I am a mind reader who can't read minds. So I am honest in that I can't really do the stuff you think that I'm doing. But I operate in that grey area of being able to make you think that I know what you're thinking. So that uses magic and psychology and body language and things like that. But really, it's all down to performance. It's a form of magic. And the reason I do that is because I can't act, dance, or sing. So it's my only outlet. I wish I could, but I can't. So I, as a child, I remember very clearly how I got into magic. So I was at home in England and I was 11 years old, and I got a letter through the letterbox that was delivered by an owl. And then 7 years at Hogwarts, Hufflepuff and proud, and now I'm a mind reader. I wish that were my true origin story, but sadly, yeah, I was a kid who loved performing. I loved magic, and I realized that the mind reading and mentalism side of magic was so much about performance and the psychology of audiences and that interaction. It's different every time, and that was the thing which kind of I gravitated towards. So I've been lucky, I think, in that since I was a kid, I always wanted to perform, and quickly realized, oh, magic's an outlet that I can do. And therefore have somehow made a career out of it.
So how old were you when you first started to recognize the power and just the ability to amaze audiences? Did your parents take you to like magic shows, or how did you first discover?
Yeah, I think probably my greatest love is theater. Like, I love theater. I love watching it. I love performing in it. I think there is something genuinely magical about sitting in the same room with all these strangers, watching people pretend to be someone else, and yet us all buying into this conceit and the idea that, you know, our hearts and our breathing, they get in sync in an audience together, and it's the way you can manipulate and control that. I think it's amazing. And I, you know, as a kid, went to see those shows. I went to pantomimes in the UK. I went to see magic shows, and I think I just, you know, it was something I fell in love with. And I think that power that a performer has, be it someone like you who has done all these incredible TV and films, it's like the way that you connect with someone, that's what always fascinates me. And, you know, really, there's a lot of life can be quite dull. And I think every time we can get a bit of escapism, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think really, I suppose when you boil it down, the reason that I ended up doing kind of a form of magic and mind reading as a job is because it gives people mystery again, and it gives them the wonder that we somehow miss, and that idea to be like, well, maybe this is real. And we know it's not, because it's a world of artifice, but somehow we make the impossible possible, and you feel these feelings, they come alive with you. And I kind of just always want to make it fun and funny and entertaining. And, you know, I think a lot of actors are famous for saying break a leg. The thing I always say before I go on stage is have fun. Have fun, have a good show, have fun. And when I come off, I know it's a good show if I've gone, oh, that was fun. I think it's all about it being fun. There's not enough fun in life anymore.
Yeah, no, I think you touch on something really important in terms of just helping people shift their awareness and setting the intention for what we are set out to do. Because by default, if we wake up and we don't do that, we just kind of let life dictate who we are, how we show up. And it can really get to, you know, we fall into these patterns of the mundane. And I think what you do is help people wake them up and just get them present again to what's beautiful and amazing about life and the mysteries of what it means to have this human connection, especially right now in the age of AI and all this craziness that's starting to take over the world with the Terminators all moving in. And I think you remind us of what it means to be human and have fun and just be able to connect again. And I enjoy when you walk up to someone or when someone is in front of you, they're almost like, you can tell they're a little nervous, like, okay, what is this guy going to do? And is this really hocus pocus or whatever? But in terms of when you were younger, I just want to get back to this.
Yeah.
When we're younger and we have these ideas of being an astronaut or a firefighter, or I wanted to be a wide receiver for the Chicago Bears and that sort of thing. And then we get older and then we start to realize, oh, I've got to
By the way, I'm British, so all those words I have to Google. Wide receiver, Chicago Bears, not a clue.
Yeah, it's basically...
I'm assuming something to do with Quidditch. I think it's a Quidditch thing.
You wanted to be the outside wing for Chelsea.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Manchester United.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Sport. It's sport. Good sport.
Yeah. And then we start to get older and we start to realize, okay, maybe that's not in the cards for me, and I've got to grow up and I've got to get a real job, so to speak. How did you pursue this pathway of continuing on what you were passionate about and just if you could touch on, obviously you're fulfilling on what seems to be your purpose in life. If you could touch on how did you maintain and protect this dream and this passion of yours for entertaining people?
I think it's a really good question, Colin. Because the truth is, I still am. Every day I'm fighting and battling to be able to make this my job and to be able to pay the bills and bring up my kids by being a magician, which isn't. My 8-year-old recently asked me, so, Daddy, is being a magician a proper job? I was like, oh, I don't think it is, but somehow, yeah. So it is always a battle and it's always a risk. I think as when I was younger, you kind of have that superpower of not really thinking and not having responsibilities, and you just run into things. And I did my first Edinburgh Fringe show when I was 21, and I saved up some money from my student loan to go and do it, and was like, all right, well, I'll just do that, and that went well, and I did the other one, and then you kind of just ramble through stuff without giving it much thought. And I was lucky that I kind of had those building blocks, and I think I spent a long time where doing magic and performing was my second job. I had a proper job, which was working as a producer at a radio station in the UK. And there was a point where I would take all my annual leave to go and do the Edinburgh Festival, and I would work during the day and go and do shows on the evening. And I was lucky enough to be cast in a West End show. And at that point, I was doing 8 shows a week in the West End, 5 days a week working at the radio station. I was 27, I think, maybe 28.
Okay. And at this point, your parents, what were they saying about all this?
I think they had always been very supportive, luckily. And I think they wanted me. I went to university. They wanted me to have skills I could fall back on, but also were always, seeing that I was getting good at the performing stuff, and very kindly, some family members gave me a little bit of money for my second Edinburgh show to be able to afford to go and do that, and those things kind of self-perpetuated. And I think there was the point where I was doing these 2 jobs and realized that I had to give up the other job, because if I didn't give that up, which was an amazing job and was, sort of job where I go, well, there's a pension there and there's money coming in every month that I don't have to work towards other than turning up and go to work. But I realized if I didn't do that, I would always be frustrated. And the opportunity was in front of me that was like, now is the time to do this. And, I kind of jumped at that opportunity, but that opportunity took 10 years of building a career and meeting people and doing it solo. So as that opportunity came up, I was ready to take it. It's like a good story is the guy who directed that first West End show I did, I met about 10 years earlier, and he was working with a different, very famous magician in the UK called Darren Brown, who is the best of us. He is like the god tier magician in the UK. And we do similar stuff in that we do mind reading. I present it very differently. But I remember meeting this guy, Anthony Owen, his name was, and he was the producer of Darren's show. I went to meet him when I was sort of in my late teens, early 20s, and told him about what I was doing. And so I was getting good reviews in Edinburgh. And he went, well, that's good, but I've already got the best mind reader in the country. So why would I need you? I'm like, oh yeah, that's a very good point. Why would you? But that thing made me do a couple of things. Number one, it made me work really hard on creating me, a version of me. Because in essence, all magic tricks, there's 6 magic tricks in the world. And the thing that makes them different is how you present them and what it is about you. So I created the character of me, which was all the best bits of me put into that. And the other thing I did is I kept in touch with him over all those years. And I told him what I was doing and got him to see things I was doing. And we became friendly. So therefore, when the opportunity came for this West End show, I was someone in his mind and someone he knew and someone he trusted. And that was that idea of like, it is a cliche, but it's true. It takes 10 years to be an overnight success. For me to get that opportunity, I can trace it back to 10 years earlier, where I sent him many, many emails and made many calls to make that first meeting. And that first meeting happened genuinely, I think, because he was fed up of me calling and emailing, asking for a meeting.
That's incredible. And as you were going along on this journey, I'm sure you were having some self-doubts along the way. And is this, because obviously we're both in the same industry of you never know when your next gig is going to be. So a lot of it's
always someone else saying yes.
Exactly. So what are some of your resiliency mindset frameworks that you use and remind yourself of that have enabled you to stay empowered through these ups and downs of an independent contractor lifestyle?
Yeah, I think it's number one, trying to tap into that kind of annoying tenacity of younger me, where I would send a million emails and phone calls to get those things, where now I feel a bit like, oh, I shouldn't do that. But actually it worked when I was younger, and it sort of still works now. And so connecting to that, I got some really good advice once from Penn and Teller, rather than the type of thing you use to write with. And we were talking about how, and I used to do this, and now I do it all the time because of him. He's like, the idea of like, I see and consume a lot of good content, be it TV, theatre, that sort of thing. And if I see something I like and there is a way of contacting the people who created it, I try to send them a fan mail. And Penn and Teller does the exact same. He will, and an email coming from him is much more impressive than an email coming from me. But that idea of like, it's nice to be told you're doing good work, but also those connections, you never know where they can lead. I'm working consulting on a play here in the UK, which came out of a conversation that I had 4 years ago with the director, who I saw something and just sent them an email saying, I really liked this. It was great work. Well done. And I think that ability to network and connect, those things keep me kind of sane and thinking, okay, you never know how close you are or when that next offer is and when something's going to come around. And you have to constantly remember to put that work in. And, like this year, normally I spend the holiday season on tour in the US with a show called The Illusionist's Magic of the Holidays. There's no tour for that this year. So a big chunk of my year is gone, which is both work and financial. So that has made me go, all right, what do I do this year? How do I fill that diary? And a lot of it is I think we call it sometimes the stool technique, right? The idea that a stool has 3 legs. So it's going, what are the 3 things I can do which give me different opportunities when other ones disappear? So I, for years, used to do quite a lot of corporate work in the UK, be it hosting awards or corporate entertainment, and then stopped doing it because I was always on tour. So this year, it gave me a chance to be like, oh yeah, I can pick that work up again. I can spend time developing that material and those keynotes and those workshops and those things. And I've really enjoyed finding different things and projects which both flex a creative muscle, and then the thing of like being, I have to be my own boss and my own company at this point, and send emails, try and sell yourself. It's always impossible, and the easiest bit sometimes is actually just doing the show. But I suppose the framework is just constant hope. I think hope is the easiest way to do it. Again, hope if I put the work in, something will come out of it.
Have you I've worked with quite a few performance coaches in Los Angeles, and a lot of the things that they have had me do was to focus on specifically writing out what I wanted my ideal future to look like, and then to practice the power of visualization. And some people may call it manifestation in the world of thinking specifically about what you want and then imagining you having it right here, right now in the present moment. Do you practice any of that type of manifestation, visualization type of stuff?
I do try to, and without this becoming a therapy session, it does. The older I get, and the more kind of bits in my career have gone the way I want them to do, and you get to a point, you go, okay, what's next? And you get, I've noticed I get more and more nervous about things, and more will think about the what if this doesn't happen, rather than when I was younger, I'd put my attention on, we're just assuming it's going to happen and thinking about that. And actually, that's been a real thing for me to notice, that I've started to think more negatively. And I think that self-perpetuates into a slightly negative behavior and that mindset, where actually now I'm trying to reframe that. And I think the more positively I think, the better stuff comes out of it. And you see every opportunity, whether something happens or doesn't, as an opportunity. And there's a thing I say to myself before I go on stage. I stand in the wings and I say, they're going to love you. They're going to think you're great. You're going to amaze them. And I sort of say that to myself and I go on. And I notice the difference when I go on stage and I forgot to do that. And it just buoys me up. And I do genuinely believe there is our internal monologues are kind of our body clocks. They are our gut instinct. What we tell ourselves self-perpetuates in what we do. And, I live in a weird world where I'm pretending to do a thing that I can't do and making an audience believe that I can read minds, even though I'm going, I can't read minds, but we're all playing the game of let's just make believe and enjoy it for what it is. Because we know I'm not using stooges and I'm not using plants, and somehow I'm doing this thing. And that constantly reminds me of like, oh yeah, but what we tell ourselves is true. And I can be on tour and midway through like an 8-week US tour, and we're in a new city every day. And unless they've written the name of where we are on the front of the stage, I'm not entirely sure where we are that day. And notice sometimes I'll be surprised to hear an audience reaction at the end of a trick, because I forget, oh yeah, there's a trick, it's a good trick. And I'm focusing on like, is there a new joke here? Is there something funny? And sort of forget the amazing bit of going like, oh yeah, I'm doing amazing stuff. And I think remembering that as well is constantly like, what are, I always think, and I sort of ramble a bit here, but if 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old you saw where you are now, they would be so impressed and so amazed, and trying to remember that and go like, oh yeah, it is. Yeah, bring that inner child out sometimes. That's what you do. I do as a magician, is we make the audience's inner child come out, and it's sort of good for us to remember ourselves. Our young version of us would be so proud and so amazed at the things you've accomplished. So that is a goal, really.
Yeah, that being said, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self about being persistent and just overcoming the ups and downs of what young Chris is going to face?
I just tell him to invest in Bitcoin, and then everything's fine.
Yeah,
there you go.
No, I think younger Colin and tell him to do the same thing.
Yeah, well, I'll just get a little group going. We'll all tell each other. I think it's just that. You know what I would say is enjoy it more. I think it's easy to, and I'm very much a person that achieve something and I'm constantly focused on what's next.
Yeah.
And, I look back at the time, I'm in the UK at the minute, and next week I'm going out to New York for a week to open Mario the Maker Magician, who is a incredible new magician. We're doing his show at New Victory on 42nd Street. And I saw his show, and he does a family kids magic show, and fell in love with it. And was just like, how do I get this show in front of more people? And the answer is I turned out now that I co-produce the show. But I'm saying this because thinking about going to New York next week, I'm really excited. I'm like, I'm in New York for a while. And the last time I was in New York, really, I was doing a show on Broadway, which is, literally, I can't believe I get to say I did a show on Broadway. And I lived in New York, and we were in a penthouse because of some admin error meant we were in a penthouse. And I was walking through Times Square every day to get to the Neil Simon Theatre. And I think at the time, I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have done. And I look back now and go, I should have just, I was anxious or stressed. I was, I don't know. It was all those things. It's just like remembering to enjoy those things, because when you look back at them, it's easy to forget how incredible they were. Yeah. I think that's the advice I'd give to my younger self, and actually my current self. And I'm trying to more to be like, oh yeah, enjoy it.
Great advice. And when I just reminds me of when I was back in Los Angeles in the heyday of in-person auditions, where you'd go in and meet with the casting director, and then if they liked you, they brought you back for the producers, and if they liked you, then they would bring you back for the director. And each time, it's like, oh crap, it's like, okay, am I going to mess it up this time? And having to just all this mental mindset stuff. And this is where I really started to do research on performance and mindset, and watching all the Tony Robbins DVDs and things like that I could, to just try to master these negative thoughts. And I had huge imposter syndrome when I was younger, because I was thrust into these rooms, and I was like, well, I didn't go to the Yale School of Drama, and I haven't been on stage in London, and I've only done a few acting classes in New York and Los Angeles. And like you were saying, the mental monologue that you have going into these big auditions, because I'd finally get to like that last final studio and network audition where it's like all the executives from CBS or Warner Brothers, and it's the final like 2 or 3 guys for the final audition, and your lawyer would give you the contract, and it would be like 50 pages, and it would say the first year you're gonna be making this money, and then the third year they're gonna give you a house in the hills, and then the fourth year you're gonna have 4 Lamborghinis, and you're like, I haven't even booked the damn job yet, and I've got to sign all this stuff, and then like put that away, and then walk into the room, and then pretend like you're there to just perform. And the thing that
this genuinely could be a life-changing moment, right?
Oh my God,
that pressure is
a complete life-changing moment, from going from ramen noodles to living the high life. And so the thing that I would always remind myself of before I'd walk into these rooms, I would just take a deep breath, and I would just remind myself, have fun. Exactly what you said. And inevitably, that's the thing that just would let everything go away, because the whole purpose why we are there in the first place is to connect with people. And what I really like about what you do is that you it's almost like you give the gift of helping people discover the small trivial things in life anew and differently. And that is such an amazing gift that you have. But in the process of all of this, and this is my leading to my question, in this process over my 25-year career in Hollywood, I've heard the word no a lot, or you're not this, or you're to this, or and I tried to fit in at the beginning part of my career. And what you said earlier about you had to differentiate yourself from the other mentalists that was out there. In terms of branding yourself and creating the unique Chris Cox that you are right now, I'm sure along the way you heard the word no a lot. And this brings me to the whole concept of rejection. And some people look at it as rejection. Some people look at it as I'm not good enough. And in the world of entertainment, it's just part of the game. And I just would like to hear what your thoughts are on when you have heard no in your life, or when you've been told that you weren't good enough, or if you've been told the things that made you perhaps doubt yourself. What is your process for dealing with that type of feedback that didn't necessarily fit into your plan of being where you're at?
It's the hardest part. Also, just going back to what you say, that idea of fun, it's such an important thing. And like, fun is contagious. And if anyone's doing anything where you're in front of people, like, if you can have fun, they will have fun. It really is sometimes as simple as that. But talking of things that aren't fun, rejection, you get so much of it. And I think, like everything in life, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You know, I am now quite a good chef because I had 6 months once where I had no work. And after I completed Netflix, it was a long time ago, I taught myself to cook. So now I'm a pretty good chef because I spent that time learning to cook. And I actually put my energy focusing on that rather than wallow in self-pity of going, is someone going to book me for a gig? And I think, you know, we're lucky in this industry. I mean, it's weird to say this, but we're lucky that we get a lot of rejection. So we learned how to deal with rejection. And it never stops hurting, and it never stops making you feel rubbish. And it might be for an hour, it might be for a couple of days. But eventually I had a show in Edinburgh one year called Everything Happens for a Reason. And I think it does. And we never really know what those reasons are. And sometimes we don't feel much further along, but sometimes that idea of, like, people say, oh, you know, when one door closes, another door opens. That is true. But also when one door closes, it's a door. You can open that door again. It's that sort of tenacity to things. And I think it is, you know, the older you get, the more you rely on things that have happened in the past to go like, well, that didn't happen, but then this did. And you know, there are, you know, my first TV break in the UK, I don't think I've ever told this story before. I was booked to be on a big entertainment TV show, and I went and I did my trick, and it went really well, and I was really proud of it. And then a week before it aired, I got a phone call from the producer saying, this is a really difficult phone call, but we've had to cut you from the show. And I was rightly devastated, and I was like, oh, is it because of me and stuff? And, you know, that call sort of quickly closed. And then about 2 weeks later, I called them, and it's like, I kind of come out of the hole of being like, this has been cut. It's like, why, out of interest, why was it cut? I suddenly realized this was a learning opportunity. What could I have done differently? Was it that I was performing it too big because I'm used to playing theaters and not TV? What, you know, is there something I can do? And he went, oh, did I not tell you? Oh, no, everything was fine. It's really weird, but basically the person I picked to take part in the trick from the audience ended up being involved in quite a serious crime. And therefore, they couldn't air the footage. So I'm like, it was nothing I did. I just picked at random an audience member who happened to be a bad person. So you kind of go, okay, sometimes I think back at that and go, sometimes it's just not you. It's, you know, it's nothing you can do about that situation. And therefore, to wallow in it isn't going to help you. And there was a thing you said earlier as well about going into that room. And I often think of this. I've got a friend who's a wonderful actor, and he's a magician. He's called Andy Nyman. And people may know him from, he's Governor Throp in the Wicked movie, plays Elphaba's dad. But he has got an incredible amount of work in as a director, as a magician, as an actor. And he wrote a little book called The Golden Rules of Acting. And I am not an actor, but I love this book. And there's a line in it which connects with me so much. And I recommend this line to many people. I'm going to tell you now. It is the feeling of nervousness is the same as the feeling of excitement. It's the exact same thing. Physiologically, your body's doing the same thing. So if you can change feeling nervous into feeling excited and reframe that, then you can have a fun time doing a thing that you're nervous about, and you can embrace that. And, that adrenaline, they're the things that make you better, be it you performing or speaking in front of a conference or doing a sales call, any of those things. That little mindset shift is so important.
So when you were starting to get into some bigger audiences and starting to perform on shows and television, how was your stage fright? Was it manageable? Was it overwhelming? I used to hyperventilate, and so I had to learn meditation practices and breath work and that sort of thing, which has really helped. I still get the butterflies, but I've learned how to reframe that into the excitement and direct it more towards when I get out onto stage. It's not about me. It's about channeling that excited energy and sharing that with my audience to have this shared elevated experience. That's how I've learned to channel my nerves. And this is what I share with people that I work with to help them overcome stage fright. What do you do to deal with the butterflies?
I think partly I created a version of me, Chris Cox, as a character who is quite energetic and excitable, and channeled some of that nervous energy into that, which helped. But weirdly, I am at my happiest on a stage. Put me in front of a couple of thousand people, I'm very happy. It is the equivalent of me going on stage is the equivalent of someone going into the office. It is my office job. I love it. I am never not grateful for doing it, but it becomes very normal. But the times I get nervous are a few times. Number one is if I am doing a show like at a corporate event or on perhaps on a cruise ship or something where I've been booked to come in and no one is coming to see me. They're coming to see whatever's on. So I'm nervous then because now it's like a slightly different playing field in that they don't know who I am, so I have to win them over. Equally, I get nervous about times if I'm going to do something and it's a sort of new thing or something that I'm not entirely sure about. And the nerves come from, is this trick going to work and am I going to be able to manage it? And some of those are settled in the confidence of knowing, well, I've had so many things go wrong and have been embarrassed in front of so many people many times. It's always been fine. What's the worst that can happen? But really, the best way I can deal with nerves is preparation. So before I step out on stage, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I've done it, hopefully, before, and I get nervous when I haven't done it before, but I'm sort of confident in my nerves because I've prepared. I sit and walk, particularly with magic stuff. There's methodology behind the effects you're performing. And I have thought through, before I go on stage, every possibility I think that could exist of what might happen. And played it through in my head. And I've done that so it's all muscle memory and it's in my head. So if that happens, I know when to pivot. And I've also played through thinking where the audience are going to be, how I'm going to manage them on stage. Is it better if they sit down for this trick or is it better if they stand up? All of that stuff. I've thought it through so I'm in a comfortable place. And that said, the first time there's a trick idea which has kind of taken me around the world called dressing room, where the trick is that I have a big, huge dressing room on stage full of clothes. Someone comes on stage, they get dressed up in whatever they want in secret. I end up wearing the same outfit. That is sort of a trick. I created that trick and I had there's a lot of things going on and I had 3 or 4 moments where these various things could happen. So I had backups. I now have 12 backups. And each of those backups come out of me having to create a new backup, often on the fly while on stage going, well, I had no idea that could go wrong. How do I fix it in the moment?
Wow.
And all of that is, it's a house of cards. It's layers upon layers, and thinking stuff through helps calm those nerves and feeling comfortable in doing something. And then it's just taking that big breath and stepping out and making that moment. I think past you can help current you by putting in the work. And sometimes it is just about putting in the work, and therefore you are framed in a way where the nerves are always going to be there, but they're manageable. And you can say to yourself, it's going to be fine. I've thought about this. And your body and your brain can go, yes, you have, rather than saying to yourself, it's going to be fine. I've thought about this. And your brain going, I have not thought about this. Yeah. It's like tomorrow night, I'm going up to London to host an awards ceremony. And I spent yesterday writing on the script. And, I'm a bit sort of angsty and nervous today because I haven't done any work on the script today. But I know tomorrow I'm going to go through the script again and learn it and all those things. So at the minute, the nervousness comes out of not being prepared rather than actually doing the gig. The gig will be fine, but the preparation, me having done that, will make me feel less nervous. Yeah,
so true. And because you've performed in front of millions of people at this stage of your career, how have you noticed when you walk into a room, a lot of what I've noticed too is that you've just got to be able to read the energy of the room, and whether that's you're doing a play, and I do quite a bit of speaking in corporations, and it's amazing. You can tell the energy and the type of culture that you're walking into, and really it's important to read the room and be able to speak into the listening of the room rather than just showing up with one way of doing your delivery. What are some of the ways in which you are able to read the room, or just even read an individual who's in front of you, to tailor, like how much of your performance is tailored towards that type of energy or the personality of the person that you're performing in front of?
That is such a astute point. It is all about reading the room, and that is kind of life in general. Every time you go into a room, you read. You know, I'm very comfortable, like I say, on stage. I'm very uncomfortable in a bar with people I don't really know, or at a party where it's like I know one person and that's it. I'm hugely uncomfortable in those situations. But I'm lucky in that I think I'm quite good at reading the room and working out how to react to people. And I think some of it comes from just experience. Like, I often will know whether an audience is, I say, they're either raucously impressed or quietly amazed. So sometimes they're not giving me much, but they, after the show, they'll say how much they enjoyed it. And some
like,
of them will be lying. I wish you'd let me know when you were watching it.
Could have fooled me. I was sweating bullets up there.
God, this is going horribly. And actually doing that enough, you realize, okay, you sort of telling yourself, okay, they're quietly amazed tonight. They're enjoying it. But sometimes, it really can be that thought of like thinking about what's their day been like. Genuinely, the weather, if it's been a rainy day, that's going to affect how they're going to respond to things. Where are you in their day of things? Are you, if you're at a corporate event or something, are you in the beginning? Are you at the start of the morning? Are you at the end of the day? Have they been doing this? All of those things, if you can that thing about me talking about preparation, it's not just about what I'm going to do. I'll sort of think about the audience and what they're going to do. And when I'm on tour in the US, at every theater, I will go and sit in that theater in a couple of different seats. So I can, when I'm on stage, think about where I'm going to throw my energy, but also get a sense of what it feels like in that room. Does it feel like the sound is coming towards us? Does it feel like everything's going up? All of those things can adapt and change. And what I aim to do is create an audience, because an audience is a malleable thing. It's like a wave. You talk about waves of laughter, and that idea of like, if you think of an audience as a wave, if you can connect everyone, then things that are funny become funnier. Things that are amazing become more amazing because everyone's energy is connected. And where it can be its worst is if it's groups of individuals or groups of people and you never connect them as an audience. Sometimes that's about matching their energy and being aware of the energy they're giving. And I start my show and I run out with quite a lot of energy and I go, hello to this side of the room, hello to this side of the room, hello over here, and then a little joke. And what I'm really doing there is seeing where their energy's at.
Okay.
And getting a feedback and going like, okay, can I deliver full on energy, or do I need to pull it back a little bit now?
Yeah.
And then slowly build them towards that. Do they need my energy to feed off it? Are they already quite energetic? In a magic show in particular, we ask quite a lot of our audience. They're constantly having to take part in tricks. They're having to clap. They're having to do things. That takes energy. If I feel like I'm losing them, what I've realized is a good thing to do is sometimes you feel like you have to battle them and be more excited. Where actually, it's like, think of a teacher in school, and it's like if they start whispering and talking quieter and slowing down, people lean in. And actually, that is the trick to, if you feel like an audience might be losing them, just slow down, quiet in, make them lean into it. There's a thing I love that Mario the Maker Magician does, and he throughout his show, and it's a family show, so it's full of kids and adults, and it's the sort of show where adults think they're just taking the kids to a show and then leave going, oh my God, that was one of the greatest things I've ever seen, because it connects on that level. But throughout the show, Mario will go clap, 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 clap. And the audience will react with clap, 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 clap. And he is doing that as an energy test. He's just saying, where's the energy? And can feel it and react every day to go like, okay, they're a bit tired. I'll do this. There's that. So it's trying to find markers, and that comes often through having done stuff a lot of times, going like, okay, I know how this should play. How is it going to play here? And an audience, if you can make them an audience, you can sort of be in control of them and conduct them. And a lot of that is just through having the right confidence. Really, if you think about it, anyone who's coming to watch you do anything you are doing as a performer, as a someone in business, anything like that, they're coming to watch you. And really think about like going to a restaurant or seeing a show yourself. The first minute or two, you're sat there going like, have I made the right choice? Is this going to be any good? And that answer can be yes if someone delivers it with confidence, you feel comfortable in them, you sit back, relax, you go, okay, everything's going to be fine. And those first few minutes are really important in doing that, in coming out and sort of hitting the ground running, so to speak.
Yeah. Have you encountered a situation where there was like a heckler in the audience and disruptions? Like, what did you do to deal with that sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I've had shows where we've had blackouts and power cuts or technical problems. And a lot of the time, it comes down to being human and reminding people you are a human. And we connect with each other on a very human level. So ignoring something is often the worst thing you can do. Referencing it is often the best thing you can do. And you don't even need, I will try and reference it and make it funny. Just actually referencing the thing is sometimes enough to remind us that we're all aware. Someone's aware of something that's gone wrong. Everyone's aware of it. There's no point hiding it. You might as well lean into it. And all they'll do is feel like you're not genuine if you ignore it. I think, there's, constantly stuff goes wrong. And it reminded me of a thing. In fact, I made myself a note. I was like, this might be a useful thing to remember. Now, obviously, being a mind reader, I've forgotten why I can't read my own mind. But that's it. It's that thought of like knowing. Remind me of the question, because it'll connect that thought back in my brain.
So, it's almost like a two-parter where you've been performing and there's been maybe heckler or disruptions, but then it also leans into when things don't go the way that you had hoped and planned. And, this has happened several times in my career as well. What my acting teacher, when I first started studying acting in New York, I joined a theater company and I was doing A Few Good Men, the play with, that Tom Cruise did the movie about. And so there was a
play, right?
Full on like 3-hour play. And halfway through this line of questioning where I played the Dan Caffey, Tom Cruise character, I switched the line of questioning, and the actor that was facing the stage, my back was to the audience, and I'm asking him, it was a 3-part series of questions. And I asked him the first part, and then I accidentally went to part 3, and the look on his face, as he's facing the audience, was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh shit. And like, I was able to swing it back around, but like you were saying, it's leaning into it. And most of the time the audience will never even know that you messed up. So in coming back to the question, how have you, I guess you've mentioned this, you acknowledge it, because those are those golden moments that can wake us all up, and those are the golden moments where those amazing magic moments can possibly happen, where you lean into it and roll with it and fail forward. What's been maybe perhaps some of your experiences where that's happened?
There's a lot there. And I think one of the things that thinks to me about is the idea of customer service recovery, which is if you're in a restaurant or you're somewhere and a hotel, and something goes wrong, that's human. Stuff goes wrong. But how you recover from that can turn you into a customer for life or someone who no longer trusts this brand. And that thing of like turning a bad thing into a good thing is always the best way you can do it, because you can really take someone from down and low to much higher expectations. And I think one of the ways I don't do customer service recovery myself as a performer, but I think one of the ways I deal with those moments are being in the moment and reacting to it, knowing like the version of my brain on stage, in anyone's brain, your adrenaline is firing so much. Your brain can do. I wish I had show brain in real life, because I've solved problems where a trick has not worked. I'm like, well, that isn't going to work, and solved it in the moment, and while still doing the show. And that comes out of having enough skill and knowledge of being able to, I can perform my stuff and not think about it, and my brain can be solving a problem.
Yep.
That idea of like that preparation gave me the opportunity to do that. And also that thing of just like knowing and trusting in yourself, that no one knows what you're doing unless they've seen it a few times before. If you're seeing a play and a major character dies at the end, well, we're expecting that to happen if it's a Shakespeare or something. But often no one knows what you're doing. So as long as you make it look like that's what you're doing, then you're going to be fine. No one knows, there's a thing I do where the ending of one of my routines involves me ripping off my clothes to reveal a ridiculous outfit under my clothes that connects to a trick. Sometimes that doesn't work, and therefore I just don't do that bit. So no one knows that I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit, but it's not like I've gone like it's suddenly no one feels like it's gone wrong. I've covered that base. And the other thing is the idea of hecklers. I am aware that as a magician, your job is to go, look what I can do that you can't. Aren't I amazing? And so much of magic is posturing and showing off. And I try to turn showing off into sharing. So I never go, look what I can do that you can't. I'm going, look at this amazing thing. And if anything, I kind of downplay and underplay everything. So I kind of, the audience are like, that's good. You're doing really good. That's really impressive. We weren't expecting it to be that good. And therefore, I naturally don't encourage people to turn it into a challenge. Where if you're a magician going, I'm the greatest thing in the world, look what I can do, it suddenly becomes a challenge. And the audience goes, all right, prove it. All right, you want me to shuffle the card? How about use my deck of cards? How about that? All of those things where, if an audience member is being deliberately difficult to me, the audience watching them go, why are you being an idiot? Why are you being difficult to him? They're on my side. And also no one's really, and sometimes it's an awareness of, I've learned that often audience members, earlier in my career, I might think that they were being deliberately annoying or difficult. And what I've realized is that's very rare. Often they're just nervous. They think they're being funny. They're doing these things. And it's like, sometimes if they are naturally funny, I will lean into it and let them be funny. And I found that actually laughing at them being funny rather than trying to make that joke mine or something is a better opportunity. And sometimes they're just nervous and they're uncomfortable and they're not trying to screw you over. They're just really out of their comfort zone. So there's a bit I'll do where, I will, in the same way I say before I go on stage, you're going to be great, you're going to have a good time, people are going to love it. As I'm bringing an audience member to stage, the sound guys cut my mic so the audience can't see it. And I say to that person, genuinely, thanks so much for helping me. You're going to have a load of fun. You're going to be amazing. I'm not going to embarrass you. Enjoy yourself. And that, just saying that to them helps them know, I can trust you. We're here together. We're going to make this a good show. You're going to be fine.
Yeah. And in terms of, you say you're a mind reader who can't read minds.
Yes.
But a lot of what you do is it subtly, subconsciously guiding someone in a certain way for them to make a decision that they wouldn't have made otherwise? And how is this applicable to my audience? Like, let's say you're in sales, or let's say you're in a situation where you're in a negotiation and you're wanting someone to move down a path and make a decision that is the decision that you want them to make. Are there some subtle techniques or insight that you can share with us that help guide people toward the direction subconsciously that you want them to go?
Yeah, there are. And I think the thing is, there's never one thing. Everything I do is very, very rarely ever one way that it works. There's lots of things happening at multiple times. It's layers. It's that onion thing. It's all of this stuff happening together. And the first bit of advice I give is that it is never one thing. It is a collection of things. So getting someone to say yes isn't about at that moment saying to them, you want to agree to this, right? And nodding your head, hoping they'll pick up on that subconscious anchor of saying yes. It's what's happened a week before, a month before. It's how that relationship is formed and them trusting you. It's those things. There is simple psychology, and a lot of it just comes down to, are you someone that person likes? Because people like to say yes to people they like. And actually, how can you get someone to like you? And that is genuinely taking an interest in them. It's asking questions. It's social proof. It's all of those things. There are a lot of people who perform the type of magic I perform who say it is all psychology and it's all influencing and it's all this, and it is many things, but it is neither or one of those things. And in essence, to me, that is the same as them going, it's psychic. I'm connecting to a spirit world thing, which I don't personally believe in, and they're saying I'm doing it that way. I'm like, you're not. You're performing. You're a performer. You're doing dressed up tricks.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Please do.
I want to bring something up where I saw you were doing this bit on stage where there was a guy who wrote down a word and you had a jacket on and you were going to have the audience guess the word that he had written down. Yes. And you had your jacket on, and as you were facing him, you took your jacket off, and the word that you wanted the audience to say was written on the back of your shirt. Yeah. And the word was think. And so you were talking to the guy and you're like, okay, so we're going to have the audience guess the word. And you were like pointing to the back of your shirt so the audience could see the word that they were going to shout in like a few seconds. And you were like, okay, the audience is going to say the word that you wrote out. Are you ready? Are you ready, audience, to shout the word? They're going to guess the word that you've written down. And on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, the audience all yelled, think. And the guy was like, how did they know? So how did you get the guy to write the word think that was written on your shirt?
Yeah, so that's like that trick I love, and it's one of the first things I ever created actually. Because the thing I like about it is it's 3 tricks in one. Because really, the trick is I'm reading their mind, and I'm predicting the future, or whatever you want that to be. I'm working out the word they're thinking of. But the audience say, "Oh, we know how it's done because he told us to tell the word," and then they go on the way home. They're like, "Hang on. How the hell did he know that would be the word and was on his t-shirt?" And that thing I mentioned to you about, it's never one thing, and there's often different ways. Genuinely, that effect can go in one of 3 different ways. And that night where they filmed it, it went the best way, which is the word is on my t-shirt. The worst possible thing is he doesn't necessarily think of the word I might want him to think, or I can't influence him, or whatever those things are. And I go to a slightly different version, which isn't as good, but it's fine, and vice versa. But a lot of it is walking a tightrope and hoping this stuff happens and giving yourselves opportunities to make it happen along the way. Going, if that doesn't hit, I can try here. If that doesn't hit, I can try here. And that's through the planning. And some of it is just, it's just honestly staying one step ahead. Remember that story? Like anyone can be a teacher. All you have to do is know what's happening in the next lesson. As long as you're one step ahead of someone, you're going to be fine. And so much of what I do and the way it connects and it works is being one step ahead of you. And the frustrating thing about a lot of what I do is that the skills aren't as transferable as I'd like to the real world. And that's because when you put someone on stage, you put them in a totally different environment that they would ever be in real life. I have so much power and control in that point, which I don't have in real life. They are totally out of their comfort zone. I have seen America. And if you ask me to think of the theaters I played around the world, from the Fox in St. Louis to I'm trying to remember some other ones like the Majestic or the Cadillac Palace in Chicago. It's like the thing I remember about them, or Emerson Colonial in Boston. It's like I can remember sort of the outside because I normally take a photo of them, but really all I remember is darkness and emergency exit signs because that's all I'm seeing. And that idea of like suddenly someone's mindset is totally different. You put them on stage, you blind them with the light, and suddenly they're like looking to you to help them. And therefore that allows me to put them in a slightly more manipulative position than you would in real life. So I suppose what I'm saying is I could easily at this point say, oh, I have all the answers. Get me along to your corporate event, bring me into your CEO training, and I will tell you how you can get yeses every time. And some mind readers and mentalists do that. And the answer is it's not true. So much of it is creating the feasible possibility of a thing, and you're presenting it as such, but it's not necessarily actually how it's done. And there will be bits of it, but also sometimes it's just a trick dressed up. It's a snake oil salesman. I think there is a danger to go, I am the answer to all your problems because look at what I can do on stage or in this environment. But there is also the awareness of going, that is an entertainment environment, and it is very different from what you're seeing. Like, for example, in fact, I'll show you a little quick trick, if that's okay.
Yeah, because I'm still curious about, is it a subconscious way of leading someone to what, like, at least narrow it down to what, because to where you want them to go? Because when that guy wrote the word think, and here's the thing, the last thing I want to do is make you reveal your proprietary things like that, because I mean that's your thing. So I don't want to ask you to reveal something that you don't want to reveal. But I'm just curious about in terms of the persuasion part of it. Yeah. And it sounds like you're saying there's not a whole lot of subconscious.
There is and there isn't. Yeah. I think you're relying on the hope that hits, but the truth is that doesn't always hit. So therefore, you have to, as a performer, I can't go out on stage going, well, I hope that the psychology is going to work here, because I know it's not every time. So therefore, I have to know how am I going to do it when it doesn't. For example, there's also an interesting thing about how people remember stuff, which is a big tool of what I do. So you remembering that trick is really interesting because you remember it as he thought of this word, where actually what happens in that trick is he picks a word at random from a magazine. And that is a genuinely free choice, but I am trying to create the effect that you sort of forget about that bit because it's more amazing that he thought of the word. So that worked. Yay me. Well done. The trick is evident. But also suddenly I know that it's not a free choice of any word in the world. I can limit that choice a little bit more. So I'm going to show you something. Have you
And are
ever
you
been
reading
oh, you're gone.
them? Are you reading their facial
Yeah,
expression?
I'm looking for cues. I'm looking for, I'm sort of pushing them in the direction I want them to go. And I'm looking for how they're responding to certain things I'm saying and getting them in a position where I'm going to be able to see kind of a little flicker here and there of like, oh, I think that's this. And then at some point, I'm just taking the risk and going, all right, I'm going to hope for the best here. And that, I think, is also why people enjoy it, watching it, because you're like, well, it could go wrong.
Yeah, because
real
quick, there was another trick that you did with this girl, and there was 5 bottles of water, and then 1 bottle you had her fill it up with vinegar.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you put a bucket over your head, and then you asked her to swap them around, and then you took the bucket off of your head, and then you said, okay, I want to have you look at each one of these 6 bottles of water, and just by you looking at the way she looked at the bottles, you could tell which bottle had the vinegar, and then you would drink the one that was water, and then that one was off, and you narrowed it down, and then you had her put her hand over each of the bottles, and it seemed like you could read her facial expression or something in her eyes or something that made you could tell which bottle had the vinegar. Is that something where you're actually able to read people's facial expressions or their blinking or something like that?
That is the best way to explain that is trained gut instinct. I couldn't have done that trick 15 years ago. But I can do it now because I've trained my gut instinct to like really trust in what I'm looking for. And the way that works is having done it lots and lots and lots of times, and it go wrong lots and lots and lots of times. But each time you learn a little bit more. It's like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. And also within that, there are, a couple of safeties I have to help confirm my choices. Sometimes there'll be, without wishing to give too many secrets away, there'll be a point where it could be like an A or a B thing, and it's one of these two. And I have sort of a cunning way of being able to go whichever one I go for. I can probably get away with it being the right or wrong answer. And sometimes it's about like just controlling, manipulating, and pushing people in the direction that you want them to go. For example, like have you been to Las Vegas, right?
I have.
Do you gamble when you go at all?
A little bit.
Yeah. What do you play? What's your game of choice?
Usually blackjack, sometimes poker.
Okay, great. All right, so imagine you're, I should boil this up, but I've got 1 card here. Imagine you're at a blackjack table, and it's a green table, but you've got a blue pack of cards. And you just need to see this in your head and tell me the answer of what you see each time. So to begin with, you open the deck of cards, and you pull out 1 color half. Do you pull out the red cards or the black cards?
Red.
Good, great. So we're eliminating through them one by one. So we've got rid of the reds. Now you pour the deck onto the table, and it's a green table, and you've got the clubs and the spades. Which ones do you pick up, the clubs or the spades?
Spades.
Great. So you've got all the clubs on the table. They're in perfect order still. Ace through king. We need to keep eliminating through them. Do you count the ace as a picture card or a number card? Some people go ace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Some people go jack, queen, king, ace. Which do you go for?
It's a picture.
Great. And which do you prefer, the pictures or the numbers?
Picture.
Okay, great. So that means we've got the jack, the queen, the king, and the ace that you prefer.
Yeah.
Yes, does count as a picture in your head. So in your head, you've got those cards. You turn 2 face down. Which 2 are face down? The jack, the queen, the king, or the ace of clubs? Which 2?
The jack and the queen are face down.
Great. So you mix them up. You don't know which one's which. You hand me one. Which one do you hand me? The jack or the queen?
Queen.
Great. Leaving you, out of all of these cards, you've eliminated them all. You're left with a jack of clubs, right?
Yeah.
And that was all your choice each step along the way. You made those decisions. I've been holding 1 card the whole way through this. You were left with a jack of clubs, and right here, I've got a jack of clubs. Thank you. You don't trust me. You want to see it? Okay, there you go.
No.
There you go.
It's witchcraft.
I like that you run across the room. We're not even in the same continent, and yet somehow
turning this off. You're in my head now. Like
I am in your mind, and I'm flattered. Thank you.
Now, like this is what is incredible. Like yeah. But you're telling me this was all your plan the whole way. You knew I was going to pick that.
Yeah,
card.
I'm pushing you in the direction I want you to do, and the reason I suppose I thought I'd do this is because when you listen back, you will start to see what I'm doing. And you will see how all those things I talked about, all that thought, all that planning, all those things are there to get the reaction I want. And the main thing is, how I was saying like at the beginning, you have to really think and plan of where you want someone to go. We talked specifically about Las Vegas. And I said, what game do you play? And you said the answer I wanted. And you said blackjack. And I know at the beginning that is enough to have one little thought at the end of your mind. I call it this sort of, I say psychologically cul-de-sacking someone. And a cul-de-sac, if you don't know, is a road which is a dead-end road. It's like in the UK, you have a cul-de-sac, there's some houses at the end of it, you can only go one way. So I'm trying to push you where I want you to go, and then the whole way along it, I'm controlling you. And if you'll notice that I was the whole way, you get having free choices, but I'm really in control of everything that's happening at that point. So what feels like a free choice probably isn't as free as you'd hoped it would be.
Beautiful. I'm impressed,
right.
Chris. You're phenomenal, and I just want to tell everyone out there they have to go see your next show. You said you're going to be in New York next month.
Yes, I will not be performing, sadly, but Mario the Maker Magician is on. He is on tour around the US and the UK. He doesn't do mind reading, but genuinely, he's the greatest magic show you will ever see. I will be back on tour next year. You can find out at magiccox.com all about me. Also, by the way, if you happen to be a fan of anything to do with Disney or want to hear how my weird brain works, I do this new podcast with Len Tester and Jim Hill, who are Disney experts, and it's called The Case For with Chris Cox. You can get it exactly where you got this podcast, the same place. And each week we debate a different Disney topic, and Jim acts as the judge, and Len and I debate whether it's a good or a bad thing. So we've done things like park hopping or early entry. So if you're planning a vacation to Disney World, this will give you the answers, and I've done way too much research to work out those answers, and you will work out what you're going to do, what is good and what isn't bad. And if you're not planning a trip to Disney World, you can listen to it and go, oh, well, if ever I do, I now know what to do. But also you can see me live, or magiccox.com is the place to go. I also have to say, you have to spell that correctly. It's COX. It's like the cable company if you live in Vegas, or like the Apple if you're in New York, or Courtney if you're a fan of a TV show Friends.
Got it. Yeah. Easy to mix up, but
it can be a terrible mistake. Don't try it on a work computer. That's all I'm saying.
Got it. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And before you leave here, I'd love to just ask one last question, and it has to do with essentially the theme of my show here, Beyond Impact. Knowing that you've had such an impact on so many people throughout the years, what would you say is the larger legacy impact that you're looking to make with everything that you're doing, the way you inspire people, the way you bring people together, connect with them, and show them what's reminding them of what's beautiful and amazing about what it means to be a human being? What is that bigger legacy impact that you're looking to make in the world?
It's such a lovely question. And I think really I do what I do because I want people to have fun and have some escapism and have some entertaining. But also the reason I do specifically what I do, which isn't just stand on stage, it's to do mind reading and magic stuff, is to remind people that humans are incredible. And it's easy to forget how amazing we are. And really, we're all the same. The connections are the things that drive us. We would, the phrase, we would die for our friends and family is true. We have so much love and joy to give. And it's that thing of remembering, actually, we are incredible people. The odds of just being alive are phenomenal. The fact that throughout history, your ancestors have made decisions which lead to you being where you are today. All of that stuff is so easy to forget. And sometimes that idea of just remembering there is wonder in the world, and you can choose to spread joy and happiness, or you can choose to spread negativity. And the choices you make always affect someone. They affect you, and they affect people around you. And always, you never really know the results of your choices. Part of the joy of what I do is I get people to make choices, and we get to see straight away whether they made the right choice or the wrong choice. If you hadn't have said Jack of Clubs, that trick would have gone wrong. So we see the result of it in action. And remember that all we can do when we make those choices is just trust our gut and try and make the best one. And I think, without really going too deep on it, I think if you can remember that life is about playing and having fun, then that's a good thing.
I love it. Thanks for the reminder, Chris, and thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. I've so loved it.
All right. Take care, and hope to see your show live in person sometime soon.
I can't wait. You will be on stage, and
I promise
I won't even more.
I would love that. I promise I won't heckle you.
Yeah, I'll let you.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Colin.
Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. And what an amazing episode. I'm definitely going to want to rewatch this to see how he did the card trick. And just what a great reminder of what it means to just the whole purpose of, just being able to be someone who's reminding us of what's magical about life and how to authentically connect with each other. I definitely want to be checking out his show. Be sure to check out his podcast that's going to be coming out. And just again, I think having him remind us of the important things in life in terms of reminding yourself to have fun, and when it comes to confidence and performance, whether it's performing in front of an audience for fun, or whether you have to give presentations at work or have to give a keynote or a presentation, reminding yourself that it's all about what it is that you can give your audience, and reminding yourself to have fun, to bring whatever it is that's going to connect with the audience, because it really isn't about us. And as a performer myself, I know what it means to feel like you're getting up in front of a group of people and feeling judged and feeling like you want to do it right and you don't want to mess up. But I think after listening to Chris today, it's just another reminder that you never are going to be 100% sure how it's going to turn out. And that's the beauty of life. And because if we knew how everything was going to turn out, obviously life would be boring. And the best thing that you can do, like Chris said, was to prepare the best that you possibly can. Broadway performers, they don't just go out onto the stage and perform. They typically take about 6 weeks of rehearsal before they get out onto the stage to be able to perform. So the first key is to make sure that you know your stuff, that you rehearse, you practice, and then just trusting yourself that you will figure it out on the way. As Chris said, he said, I wish I had my performance brain in real life. And that's so true. I found myself in several situations like that, where I've rehearsed it in acting class, but then when you get into the real situation, whether you're on stage or in front of the camera, sometimes it doesn't always go the way that you had hoped it to go. But those are the magic moments. And those are the times where you want to welcome it. You want to be grateful for those moments and just trust that you will figure it out as you go. A lot of the times we don't start something because we're not sure that we have the answer, or we don't know how it's going to turn out. But sometimes you just got to jump in and prepare the best that you can, jump in and trust that you will figure it out along the way. And this is some of the best advice that I've gotten from my acting teachers and from my performance coaches myself. And this is what life is all about. It's about taking that leap of faith and just trusting that you will figure it out as you go. And the most successful people that I've ever met, that I've ever interviewed, are the ones that say you're not always going to have the answers figured out. And a lot of it is that leap of faith, trusting that when you do jump out into the world and start doing the thing that you truly want to do that resonates with your purpose. And as Chris talked about, growing up, he just knew that this was something that he wanted to do. You're going to face a lot of rejection, a lot of no's along the way. But like he said, it's reframing it to directing the attention to finding out what is unique about you and focusing on that. And then taking all of that and turning it into fuel to be able to get better. And like he said, when you're up on stage or when you're in front of an audience, you can either look at the nerves and the anxiety as a negative thing, or you can literally shift your perspective to, it's the same physiological response. It is shifting your perspective to, how can I make this an exciting experience? How can I shift this to having fun? And then shifting that energy to give the gift of yourself and the gift of this energy to your audience, because really that's why you're there. You're there to serve. You're there to solve a problem. You're there to help make people's lives better. And just essentially when you're connecting with people on that deep, authentic level, that's what really makes the difference. And that's why I love to do what I do. And that's why I have created my retreats. That's why I've created my Inspire courses and my communications classes, because for me, I've really discovered that the ability to be able to learn some of this stuff has enabled me to overcome my fear of audiences and my social anxiety. And so this is what I love to share with my clients and my audiences. And we're going to be doing my next Inspire course. If you're interested in learning some of this stuff and learning some frameworks about how you can rewrite the story of your life so that you're not feeling stuck anymore, and you're not feeling like you're in a place where you feel like you don't have any options, because really life is all about the decisions that we make. And sometimes we feel like we either don't have many decisions or opportunities, or we feel like we just need some support in making that decision and then starting to create that momentum. And that's what my Inspire course is all about. I'm going to be starting it at the beginning of the year. but I'm going to be having some webinars coming up here very soon where I'm going to be sharing with you what is in this 6-week virtual course. And it's going to be on Sundays. And I've done this for several years now. And it is one of the most impactful, one of the most amazing things that I do. And it's one of the things that I know a lot of the people that have taken the Inspire course have loved. A lot of people who've taken the course have fulfilled on their biggest and wildest dreams, whether that's writing a book or starting a business or finding the love of their life or getting out of relationships that didn't serve them anymore. This is really an amazing opportunity to surround yourself with like-minded people who are connected to the things that inspire them, that light them up. And I guide you through this journey of rewriting and redefining the story of your life so that you're not stuck in this one act that you're at. I start to create these frameworks of your act 1, your act 2, your act 3. And much like a screenwriter or a director, I encourage you to start rewriting and reimagining what your third act is all about. So this is what's really exciting about this program. And then we're going to be doing my next retreat sometime in April. I've been on social media a bit this past couple of weeks, sharing with you the opportunity where you can tell me where you would like our next Inspire retreat to be at. So I've partnered with this company called Trova Trip, and they have this survey that we've been sending out, and you can access it on my Instagram at Colin Egglesfield. And on there, you can tell me where you would like the next Inspire retreat to be at. We've done it in Scottsdale, we've done it in Tulum, Mexico, and now I'm ready to venture out into different parts of the world, whether that's Costa Rica or Dominican Republic or Mexico or Australia or France or wherever. So you tell me where you would like to have this retreat. We do yoga, sound bowl healing, hiking. There may be some opportunities to do some sailing and snorkeling. And this is another opportunity for you to just start to experience the best things that life have to offer, because obviously we sometimes get into these ruts, into these patterns that we just get tired of and that don't serve us anymore. And especially with a lot of stuff that's going on out there, I think it's important to remind ourselves that we are, at the end of the day, still human beings with feelings, and we want to contribute, we want to have purpose. And I just want to encourage you not to listen to the noise out there, because there is a lot of noise that can help or that can distract you and make you feel that you are less than who you know yourself to be. So keep looking inward, keep focusing on the things that light you up. And again, if you're interested in helping reignite that spark within yourself, I would encourage you to stay tuned for my upcoming Inspire webinars. And in the meantime, be sure to rewatch this episode. Check out Chris Cox's podcast and his next show live at a theater near you. And that's about it for this week. So I'll see you next time. Take care.